Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world?
Detonator charged.
I don't know if we can be trusted with such a weapon, but I know the Nazis can't.
3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to another movie review. I am happy that you can join me today. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Click the subscribe button below for future notifications and updates. Click the like button and share this content with other movie fans. So last night I went to see Oppenheimer, a biographical thriller directed and written by Christopher Nolan. It clocks in at 3 hours and it stars Killian Murphy as the title character. So this is one of the most anticipated films of the summer, one of the most anticipated films of the year. So we all know that Oppenheimer tells the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer, who is considered to be the father of the atomic bomb, which is a title that Oppenheimer is not quite proud of. After the US military used the atomic bombs to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan during World War II, Oppenheimer felt guilty for creating the atomic bomb in the first place. And you also learned that during the film they wanted to also create a hydrogen bomb, and Oppenheimer strongly opposed the building of a hydrogen bomb after he saw the aftermath of the atomic bomb. So this film was based on a book, The American Prometheus, by Martin Sherwin and Kai Bird. Now, I did some research on this book. This book is 721 pages long, and the subtitle to that book was The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer. It won the 2006 Pulitzer Prize for biography or autobiography, and it took Martin Sherwin 25 years of research to write this book. And over that time, he interviewed 112 people who knew Oppenheimer and collected 50,000 pages of various documents. So imagine taking 50,000 pages of documents, condense it to a 721 page book, and then you take that book and you try to condense it in a 3 hour film. So there's a couple of questions here that came to mind after I saw this film. Number one, is there such a thing as being too intelligent? Is there such a thing as too much intelligence? That was the first thing that came to my mind. A second thing that came to my mind was, is it possible that this book does not translate well on film? Now, since I did not read the book, I'm just going to judge the film on its own merit. And I'm going to give this film 4 out of 5 stars. Because one of the issues that I have with this film is there's so many characters in this film that it's really hard to keep up who is who. So Killian Murphy plays Oppenheimer, and because Christopher Nolan focuses on Oppenheimer and his experience making the atomic bomb, and the focus is on his life, basically Killian Murphy is in practically every scene in this film. Like he really follows Oppenheimer from beginning to end. The first shot of the film is of Oppenheimer. The last shot of the film is of Oppenheimer. So, you know, it's it's one of those roles where you really, I mean, I'm sure that this role took a lot out of Killian Murphy. You know, I just can't see how this could be a role that's easy to play. I think it was probably a difficult role to take on. Even in certain films, you know, a lead actor might have some sort of rest because not every scene he has to be in. But with Oppenheimer, it's like Killian Murphy really has to be there from the beginning to the end. So it's just incredible. Emily Blunt plays his wife, Catherine Oppenheimer, known as Kitty. Robert Downey Jr. plays Louis Strauss, who was an admiral, and he was a member of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. How Oppenheimer and Strauss came to meet. Strauss invited Oppenheimer to teach at Princeton University after he created the atomic bomb, and it was there that they had you know, some sort of working relationship. And eventually you find out in the film that Strauss has some issues with Oppenheimer, and it sets up for when Oppenheimer has a couple of hearings to attend to so that he can get his security clearance. Strauss created this this board of men to interrogate him to determine whether or not he is approved for security clearance. And there's also another set of hearings that Strauss attended, and he testified against Oppenheimer. And so you have, you know, those two separate hearings going on, and also you're following the life of Oppenheimer throughout the entire film. Matt Damon plays General Leslie Groves, who is basically Oppenheimer's military handler, and he is the reason why Oppenheimer signed on to the Manhattan Project in the first place, because Groves and the US military wanted to create a bomb because they heard that Germany and Russia were developing bombs of their own. So the US was trying to beat Germany and Russia to it in terms of building the world's first atomic bomb. Whew. Florence Pugh plays Jean Tatlock. I did some research on her too. She was actually a psychiatrist, which I didn't even know of, because in the film she's known as Oppenheimer's lover, girlfriend. You really can't call her a mistress, because it seems as though that they fell in love before he met his wife Kitty, and they continued a relationship after he got married. But there was a time when, you know, they broke up and he got married, and then later on in the marriage he got back with Jean. So you know, that was an interesting relationship to see on film. Josh Hartnett plays Ernest Lawrence. According to my research, he was the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics in 1939, and he was a colleague of Oppenheimer at the University of California at Berkeley. Casey Affleck plays Boris Pash, a U.S. Army intelligence officer. Kenneth Branagh plays Niels Bohr, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics in 1922. And he met Oppenheimer while Oppenheimer was studying in England, and he was the one that suggested Oppenheimer finish his doctoral studies in Germany. Dylan Arnold plays Frank Oppenheimer, who was Oppenheimer's brother, and at some point he actually joined the Manhattan Project because Oppenheimer didn't want to develop the atomic bomb without his brother. that was basically his best friend. Conti plays Albert Einstein. We don't see Albert Einstein very often, but in the scenes in which he does appear, he is riveting in his scenes. It's fascinating to see the interaction between Oppenheimer and Einstein. And I did not know prior to the film that Oppenheimer and Einstein knew each other. So that was interesting. Gary Oldman plays Harry Truman, who was president at that time. And the scene, there's only one scene between Oppenheimer and Truman, and it's a very interesting scene to witness. Let's just put it that way. You do feel the 3 hours. I felt the 3 hours, but at the same time, there is so much of his life packed in. I just felt like, there could have been. I think that to not get characters mixed up and to understand fully what was going on in every scene, it would have been nice if certain parts or certain chapters of Oppenheimer's life were taken out so that the audience can understand a little bit more as to what's going on. Even though Oppenheimer knew what he was doing, that he was developing an atomic bomb, once the bomb was put to use, he basically felt guilty for the rest of his life for the mayhem and the destruction that he created. So he spent the rest of his life talking against atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs, and he felt like he was responsible for the killings in Japan after the atomic bombs dropped. Another thing that kind of bothered me was, I did some reading when I left the movie theater. I read about Kitty Oppenheimer and Jean Tadlock, and these were interesting, fascinating, complex women. Both of them, they were equally complex, and I feel like because there's so much information about Oppenheimer's life packed into this 3-hour film, I felt like we did not get to fully understand Kitty and Jean. I felt like Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh, they did not get they did not get enough screen time that they deserve and that their characters deserve, and that was a big issue for me. When it comes out, I'm gonna watch it again if it comes out on DVD or on streaming. I will gladly watch it again just so that I pick up certain things that I missed the first showing. So it's one of those films where you're gonna have to watch it a couple of times so that you can absorb everything that's going on in this film. So that's all for today, and I will see you next time with another movie review. Take care.